I'm 16. I live in Beslan. And my sister was one of the hostages in school number 1. I can't make sense of this. More than 330 people died at this school, and hundreds of kids were killed. Everyone had someone in this school, someone they knew. This just touched everyone. Everyone. Someone had never seen anything like this before. That's Russia 9/11. That's what it was. The suffering was just unmeasurable. I was thinking of those people who could do this, and I couldn't find the answer why did they do it. Why? I still can't find an answer. Why?
Солнечный круг, небо вокруг, это рисунок мальчишки. Нарисовал он на листе и подписал в уголке. Пусть всегда будет солнце, пусть всегда будет небо, пусть всегда будет мама, пусть всегда буду я. Пусть всегда будет солнце, пусть всегда будет небо, пусть всегда будет мама, пусть всегда буду я.
Beslan was a really friendly place. Our town was like really special from others. That even big, so everyone knows each other. And that's like really nice place to live in, because there are so many nationalities and religions, and we're all been so friendly to each other. It was really a happy place.
The first day of school, September 1st, is a celebration. It's called the Day of Knowledge. Across Russia, parents come with their children, bringing balloons and gifts for the teachers.
It's like a big deal in Russia, and everyone is just waiting for this moment, like when the school starts. That's also a big holiday for kids who go to school first time in their life.
Daria Fadiyeva is a high school senior. She spent her junior year in Euless, Texas, just outside Dallas, as an exchange student. When she went to Texas, she left behind her 12-year-old sister, Alia.
She was so energizing. She used to write poems, and she even made a little book. Like, she edited it herself, like she made drawings for her poems.
On September 1st, 2004, a hot and sunny day, Daria helped Alia get ready for her first day of 6th grade.
She was so excited to see her friends and to see her classmates. All summer we were just preparing for this day. Like, my mom was buying me clothes for Alia, like for the day, and she was getting her hair done. I was helping her with that. She was beautiful. I told her that I would see her after, and I remember her walking downstairs, and she went to school alone by herself.
Alia was heading to Beslan's school number 1. The school has been here for more than 100 years. Classes include the 1st through 11th grades, with nearly 900 students. Hiding in the woods, not far from Beslan, some 30 men and 2 women packed up an arsenal of weaponry and also started heading to Beslan school number 1.
We prepared songs about childhood ending, and a new stage of life beginning. And at the start of this song, the children were supposed to enter the school.
Elena Kosimova is one of the school's most beloved teachers and the vice principal. She was in charge of the opening day ceremonies every year. Her own 9-year-old son, Timur, was beginning the 3rd grade.
We prepared for the Day of Knowledge thoroughly because 1st graders are coming to school for the first time, and they will remember this day forever.
One of those 1st graders was Alana Zandarova. It was the first time she had ever set foot inside a school.
Alana really wanted to go to school. I wanted to hold her back till next year. She's too little, only 6 years old. But she said, no, I'm going.
Alana's mother, Zelina, brought her 2-year-old son, Alan, along to celebrate his big sister's first day of school.
My wife and I were very anxious, and my hands were shaking with joy, because my little girl is starting school.
Sergei Ermanov's daughter, who is also named Zelina, was excited as she headed to the ceremony.
My daughter was coming out of the school with her best friend. Their birthdays were just 5 days apart. And they were carrying a poster that said, "First time to 1st grade." And they had balloons in their hands. And I took their picture.
While children gathered with their parents, a large truck pulled up to this entrance of Beslan school number 1. It was about 9:20 in the morning. In this home video, we see the children just before the ceremonies begin.
At that moment, I heard popping sounds behind them.
Heavily armed men and women with guns, grenades, and bombs entered the school through this door, pushing parents, students, and teachers inside. A security guard and an off-duty policeman were killed immediately. Another group of terrorists ran into this courtyard, where hundreds of children and parents had gathered, and all hell broke loose.
periodic shooting. They were shooting in the air. When we were running towards the gym, they were shooting in the ground. I can't say that they were shooting at people because I didn't see it. There was terrible, terrible panic all around. The shooting was intense.
Zelina Zandarova was also herded into the gym with her 2 children.
When it all started, Alana asked me, Mom, is this how it usually is on September 1st? It was very scary. I remember with fear that after I saw the terrorists' faces, I thought, no one will leave here alive.
Многие дети, почти все старшеклассники, 11 класс, они успели убежать
Almost all the students from the upper grades managed to run away
в школу. Ближе всего к выходу они.
because for the ceremony they line up by the school gate.
11-классники практически все, за исключением этих более младшие ученики, которые...
It was the younger students who couldn't get away.
I went to see my mom at the hairdresser where I was supposed to meet, and I heard something like a popping sound, but I didn't think anything of it. And suddenly my mom ran out and told me that it was a siege of school number 1.
They pushed me inside the school, and they started chasing the children. I was trying to help children escape by breaking windows and pushing children outside. I remember pushing my brother's wife out through a window. Then they forced us into the gym. My wife was with me, but we couldn't find our daughter.
I found my son jammed in a corner next to the gym. I managed to get hold of his hand, pull him towards me, and bring him into the gym. He was crying, shouting, asking what is happening. Were they going to kill us? That's what all the children around us were asking.
Все дети, которые находились рядом.
In the gym we sat down. They were rough with us, pushing us with the butts of their rifles. They announced that we were all hostages.
Посчитали мы приблизительно.
I saw about 16 people, including 2 women suicide bombers. These were the people that entered the gym and guarded us.
They kept talking about death, saying that nobody will leave alive. We came here to die, they said, and you will die with us.
Word of the takeover quickly spread through Beslan, a town of 34,000. Local militia and armed citizens immediately considered storming the school. Almost everyone knew someone inside. But terrorist snipers fired on anyone who approached. Daria Fageva ran towards the school with her mother.
At that moment, nobody really knew what was going on and what happened to their children. The same way as we didn't know what was happening with Ala. And my mom was crying because my sister was at school alone, and she's crying, why did she let her go alone? And like a lot of times I was thinking that I should be with her. That's what I was thinking. And like if they would let me go instead of her, I would go.
Word of the terrorist takeover also spread to Moscow, 1,000 miles away.
My name is Dmitry Belekov. I'm a freelance photojournalist. very important day for me. I've taken my own son into school, and at the moment when I was standing together with my wife in a schoolyard of my school in Moscow, I received a phone call. My friend asked if I know the news. He explained to me what happened, and then I just immediately rushed home. I rushed back home and started packing things. I get into this airport. It was a plane full of joys from all around the world. I think that no one can understand how is it possible to take children hostages.
There were more than 1,000 people in the gym. The heat outside was reaching 100 degrees. The heat inside the gym was horrible. We were practically lying and sitting on top of each other.
И сразу мне там крикнула одна женщина, говорит. They took all of us men out of the gym, and as one man tried to reassure the crowd, they shot him in the back of the head. They took us into the hallway, putting one of us in front of every window. Then we were told to barricade the windows and the doors. They said if the barricades were broken, the men who built them would be shot.
The terrorists waited until the job was done, then shot a number of those men. Next, they wired more than a dozen bombs in the gym, around and above the hostages. Sergei Ermanov, an electrical engineer, watched the process carefully.
In the basketball hoop, there were 3 bombs taped up, and one up on the backboard, with wires leading to 2 more. They were wires going to a pedal on the floor. One of the terrorists always had a foot on it. Detonation would occur if he took his foot off.
Alana asked me, what was hanging over there? Are those bombs? I said they were just cans, not bombs. She asked me, why do they say it's going to blow up if somebody touches the can? I told her that they were just scaring us.
They warned us to be careful with the wires. One bomb hung so low, we touched it every time we went to the bathroom.
Once the bombs were set and the building secured, the terrorists sent out a note naming 4 government officials they would negotiate with. They also sent this threat: wound one of us, we shoot 20 hostages. Kill one of us, we shoot 50.
There was a huge crowd of people standing across the street, and they all wanted just to go through and just whatever, it didn't matter for them, like if they're gonna die or whatever, they just wanted to go into school and be with their kids. And we couldn't go any further because we were stopped by the army tank that was standing on this corner.
Within hours of the attack, units of the Russian army started to arrive. They were frustrated that civilians and local militia seemed out of control. Parents, family members, and the entire town were desperate for news.
We just had to wait, and we couldn't do anything else. And that was just killing us. Like, I thought it was like a nightmare.
Information was scarce and at times stunningly inaccurate.
На этот час в этих списках 354
Everyone in the crowd knew officials were lying. It seems the Russian government was trying to minimize the crisis.
I was absolutely sure there was more than 1,000. Even counting relatives of people who've been waiting, that couldn't be possible. 354.
In fact, there were nearly 1,200 hostages in the school. If there was doubt about the number of hostages, there was no doubt about the hostage takers. Everyone knew they were Chechens.
They were telling us that they were fed up with the war in Chechnya. One of the terrorists said that a Russian plane flown from our airfield had killed his entire family. Now he wanted to kill. He didn't care that it was women and children.
Chechnya is a neighboring republic about the size of Connecticut that has been in a war for independence from Russia for years. The Russians have fought a bitter war, taking heavy casualties to maintain control over the mostly Muslim republic. Tens of thousands of Chechens, including thousands of children, have been killed. The Chechens have taken the war to Moscow, killing hundreds in terrorist attacks, including the infamous 2002 theater siege. There, hostages secretly used cell phones to communicate with police. To end the siege, Russian forces pumped sleeping gas into the theater. More than 30 terrorists died, but so did 130 hostages.
It was clear. No one was going to walk out of the school alive.
The Beslan attackers had learned from the theater siege, breaking windows to ventilate the school and keeping tighter control of their hostages.
When we were first ordered to hand over our cell phones, we didn't throw them all away. They knew not all the phones had been turned in and said, if we find a phone on anyone, we will shoot them, and shoot 20 others too. And then more phones were surrendered.
By the end of the first day, photographer Dmitry Belyakov had arrived in Beslan.
That was very late in the night, September 1st. I started chasing the Special Forces unit, which I was supposed to be embedded with.
He found the Spetsnaz, Special Forces troops he was looking for. Belyakov knew these men from covering the war in Chechnya.
As I was waiting for them, I was, running through my pictures of my wife and my son on this little display of a digital camera. And it was a little bit mad situation because just behind the wall there's a siege. And I just was thinking, what would I do in such a situation? I don't know.
There was a storm, there was raining, and I don't think there was a gunfire. I don't remember any gunfire first time because of the rain that was so noisy. Maybe there was, you couldn't hear it though.
When the children fell asleep, there would be some gunshots occasionally, which made them shudder. They asked me if someone had been killed. I said no. Then why did they shoot? I said sleep, and don't be afraid.
We thought that that's just not normal to do this kind of things to kids, so we still hope that they will just realize what they're doing and let kids know.
During that first night on the streets of Beslan, there was still hope. But inside school number 1, the hostages believed the terrorists planned to kill them all.
I was thinking about one thing. Let the end come soon. When my children fell asleep, I would think, what had happened to them before they wake?
September 2nd, when I found these guys from Spetsnaz I wanted to be with. They have been located in Radio Technical College, which was on the opposite side of the school, just across the railway.
One is a captain, the other a sniper. Two soldiers from Russia's special forces, Spetsnaz. Their identities must be kept hidden.
The terrorists were shooting sporadically. Sometimes targeted fire, sometimes just to let us know that they are not asleep and are vigilant. I knew there were at least 20 terrorists, snipers and some with machine guns, and that there were many, many hostages.
Inside the school, the terrorists also fired bullets into the ceiling. Each shot reverberated through the crowd inside.
A mother started crying wailingly. Some people just got heart attack right here.
Lydia Salgeva was celebrating her 24th year as the school's principal. From the beginning, she tried to reason with the terrorists.
They said, our demands have to be met, and then we'll leave and not kill anyone. I said, what are your demands? They said, they have to take the troops out of Chechnya.
So who were these terrorists? A dramatic videotape surfaced exposing an unseen side of the story. It's a tape that begins on the morning of September 1st in the home of Oksana Zaporova. This is her 7-year-old daughter, Linda.
Linda was going to the first grade, and my husband wanted to videotape her going to school for the first time. And videotape her friends, too.
But when the terrorists took control of the school, they demanded hostages surrender not just cell phones, but also their cameras.
They told us to throw away all the cell phones and cameras. My husband, Beslan, took the camera and threw it in the pile.
Beslan's camera became the terrorists' camera. After the siege ended, the lost tape was discovered in the rubble, not by Russian investigators, but by local teenagers. What is revealed is a look inside the school through the terrorists' eyes. This is Beslan Kuchbarov. Survivors say he was called the Colonel and seemed to be in charge.
He was of medium height, stocky. He had a sniper rifle of the Spetsnaz type. They call him self-assured man.
The man you see here is on his way to negotiate with the colonel. His name is Alshev, Ruslan Alshev, a former general and once president of the neighboring Russian Republic of Ingushetia. He traveled from Moscow to negotiate with the terrorists.
I was met by two masked terrorists who took me inside the school. I saw this gym where the people were stuffed like herring in a barrel. It was a picture of people who knew they were about to die.
When he entered the gym, there were whispers everywhere. Auschwitz, Auschwitz. He shook his head and left the gym.
It was very stuffy. Almost all the children had stripped down. There was a stuffy, sweaty smell. No crying, but everyone understood that it was all very serious. There was horror in their eyes. I could see that.
Разве что тем, что пришел Ауша.
He came in, looked at us, he said, "I got it," and then he walked out.
Alshev and the colonel talked in a second-floor teacher's lounge. Lydia Salyeva, the school's principal, was summoned.
We've been waiting for so long. We're very glad that you were the first to respond. No, I shouldn't cry.
Alshev calms her, and then Lydia speaks to the colonel.
For Lord's sake, for Christ's sake, don't hurt a single child of mine.
The terrorist leader told Alshev he was willing to negotiate for release of the hostages.
He pulled out a piece of graph paper and showed me their demands. There were 7 or 8. The main one was to stop the war in Chechnya. It was a letter to President Putin from Shamil Basayev.
Shamil Basayev, the most wanted man in Russia. He is the acknowledged leader of Chechen terrorists, the man behind the Moscow theater siege and so many acts of terror. The Russian government has put a $10 million bounty on his head. This video shows Basayev planning with the Beslan terrorists weeks before the attack on the school.
I've heard that on this Chechen website, Basayev said that he personally did it. Well, what kind of scum is he, you know?
By attacking a school and holding hundreds of children hostage, Basayev hoped to shock the Kremlin into ending the war in Chechnya. On sound tape, Alshev is given a tour by the colonel.
They showed me 21 dead bodies that were thrown out the second-floor window. These people were killed during the initial takeover of the school. I think they wanted to demonstrate their decisiveness. In short, they were very serious. They said, "Here are the demands." And I asked them, "Do you have any other requests?" They said no. "Here's this piece of paper. Go do it. When you do it, we'll release the hostages."
But before he left, Alshev was able to convince the colonel to release some hostages.
I said to the commander, "I understand you have these demands, but it's not going to happen today or tomorrow. At least let the babies go." He just promised me they will release the nursing baby.
Thank you very much.
Elena Zandarova in the gym with her 6-year-old Alana and 2-year-old Alan struggled to calm them.
Alan was constantly saying, "I want to go home. I'm hungry. I'm thirsty." He cried non-stop. At first, when they allowed us to take the children out, we were overjoyed. And Alana was too. But at the entrance to the gym, another terrorist took Alana away from me and told me to leave. I said, I won't leave. I have a child here.
Zelina was forced to choose. Take little Alan out to safety and leave Alana behind, or stay and risk losing both her children. She left with Alan.
Alana said, "Ma, where are you going?" When they grabbed her out of my arms, she got scared and cried.
One by one, this procession of distraught mothers left the building. This is Zelina with Alan.
To leave a child behind, it's beyond words. One has to live through this.
Most of these mothers were leaving an older child behind. One of those children can be heard down the hall. "I want to go with Mama," she cries out. 11 women carried out 14 babies. At the last moment, a terrorist handed another baby to our chef. The boy's mother couldn't leave her older child behind.
The last baby, I carried him myself. I took the baby and walked out.
Aushiev never returned to the school. He was the only government official to meet face-to-face with the terrorists.
I had great hope that we could continue negotiating with the terrorists, getting 1 or 2 people out of there at a time, and to defuse the situation.
Everything changed after Aushiev left. They stopped giving us water. They stopped us from using the bathrooms. They turned aggressive.
They may also have turned on each other. Among the hostage takers were at least 2 women.
They were impossible not to recognize. They had long black coats on. Only their eyes were showing. They had suicide bomber belts and pistols.
They are called the Black Widows, Shahidki, women who have lost family in the Chechen War. Witnesses have said the young women terrorists hadn't been told that the school was the target and were upset about taking children as hostages.
They began arguing between themselves. They heard some shots.
The timing is not exactly clear, but at some point during the siege, the bombs strapped to one or both of the women terrorists exploded.
She just blew up like a balloon.
The explosion was to my left. It was a big explosion. After the dust settled, one of the terrorists came over to me and said, "Pick up the head." I then noticed right beside me was the head of one of the Shahidki. He told me to put it by her body.
No one knows if the women committed suicide or were killed by other terrorists. After 2 days in the cramped and airless gym, desperation set in.
The children ate the flowers that they had brought to school. Always sharing with each other. I took some soil from a flower pot, squeezing water from it through my shirt. One of them said to me, "If you move again, I'll shoot you, for you are interrupting my prayer."
When they quit letting us go to the bathroom, they threw some empty plastic bottles for the boys to pee in. And the girls went and spread out clothes. The children and adults couldn't stand it any longer without water. Some started drinking urine. I felt nauseous and was almost fainting. When I thought I was ready to drink it too, I told my son, I could drink yours. He did not believe me. Are you really going to drink it, Mom? I said, I will. I began drinking from a bottle he had used, covering my nose with my hand. He was looking at me and then said, Mom, leave the last sip for me.
I couldn't eat, and my mom couldn't. While this was happening, my mom couldn't possibly eat because they knew that their kids don't have anything to eat, anything.
I was with my wife, my daughter, my sister, and my nieces. The youngest niece was diabetic. On the second day, she was close to a coma and couldn't talk. She died the second night. Morning. Everyone was crying, hysterical. On the morning of September 3rd, the terrorists put me down on my knees in the gym and said that if I didn't calm down the crowd, they would shoot me. I tried calming them down. I said, listen to me, or they are going to shoot us.
I remember morning of September 3rd, it's like something in the air, and we felt that something has to happen.
The morning of September 3rd brought more agony for the hostages inside, and quiet suffering for those outside.
We couldn't do absolutely anything, just feel helpless, and you start thinking how helpless people inside of school are.
Nearly 50 hours had now passed.
It was such a horrible waiting when you didn't know what's going on. I was thinking that if the children won't be free, their mothers themselves will go to school no matter what happens to them. Because mothers were thinking their children are starving and don't have any water.
Expectation and helplessness are the worst. It kills you. I just didn't believe that I will see my girl alive and unharmed. It would be easier for me to be inside the school and see where they were shooting than to listen to the gunfire from the outside, trying to guess where they were aiming. It seemed every shot we heard was aimed at the children, at Alana.
I wish they did shoot me. Our little girl's Elena, smart beyond her years. And I said to her, soon the soldiers will come, and it will be okay. My wife saw me about to pass out. My wife is from God. She's my other half. She took a book and fanned it over us.
The Spetsnaz held their fire, getting ready for a possible assault on the school.
We took our positions, got organized, established communications. Everyone felt a lot of responsibility. We were positioned 50 meters from the school. The whole left wing was our responsibility.
They were constantly soothing the children. We will be freed soon. The cars are already waiting for us outside. It will all be fine. But with the adults, we just shook our heads. And on the last day, even we didn't have any hope left.
Some of the children seemed lost and began to hallucinate.
My boy Timur could not sit still anymore. He got up and said, I'm going to go to Grandpa's and drink water. I got angry. Are you serious? Sit still.
I was just praying that my sister would be alive.
Although the terrorists and the government talked by phone, the conversations led nowhere. Aushef knew the demand for Russia to pull troops out of Chechnya was impossible, but he thought the Russian government should agree to anything to free the hostages.
I have 4 children, and I imagine that my children were among the hostages. Everything should have been done to save these children.
Now, in the 3rd day, hundreds of children were suffering from severe dehydration. Thousands of townspeople were demanding action. The end begins with an explosion inside the packed gym at 1:06 in the afternoon.
An explosion came out of the blue. Unpredictably. It was very hard to describe. In the first minute, everyone was in shock.
Within seconds, some hostages escaped.
Then, shouts could be heard. Shouts, wails, and groans.
We felt as if fire was poured all over us, and felt ourselves thrown against the wall. I fell on a body. We all felt as if we were on fire. So enormous was the heat that engulfed us. I checked my arms and legs. It seemed incredible that after such an explosion, they would still be in place.
Moments later, a furious gun battle erupted. From the balcony, Beslan's troops joined the fight.
It opened fire. They started firing at two.
I thought it was just another explosion. But when I heard the machine gun noise, I figured something extraordinary was going on. I prayed to God for the children to stay alive, because only God could help them now.
But the fight was complicated by dozens of armed citizens also trying to kill terrorists.
There were people dressed in shorts and flip-flops with submachine guns. The main mass of them was an uncontrolled crowd of people with weapons, gripped with emotions. I wouldn't exclude that they might have shot some hostages.
Numerous explosions shook the school.
My daughter didn't have a scratch on her. She asked me if Mommy was dead. I laid my dead wife on her back. I saw 2 large dead women lying at an angle. And I tucked my daughter under them and lay on top of her, shielding her from subsequent explosions. Heavenly kingdom to these women.
After the explosions, there was a pile of dead children's bodies, and then complete silence.
Among the smoke and carnage, Elena lost sight of her son, Timur.
I couldn't locate him. All the children looked the same.
I got up, all covered in blood from my legs. My daughter was soaked in my blood. I lifted my daughter, stepped over her guts, legs, bodies. Then my daughter saw it all, and I covered her face with my jacket to prevent her from seeing more.
So many people just started running. Mother started screaming, thinking that just all kids are there.
Stripped to their underwear because of the unbearable heat, those children who could ran.
Все прям над головой 18 бомб были большие. И одна сверхница сама себя взорвала, а другую нечаянно пихнули.
Я окна выбивал уже, когда мы убежали. Люди не могли быть, и окна выбивали.
After the second explosion, I saw a lot of children climbing over the windowsill. That gave me the idea to escape through the window.
With bullets flying, Elena ran across the schoolyard.
Я увидела какие-то гаражи.
I saw some garages. There were other women there with children. I saw a woman fall down by the garages.
И она упала.
This woman was shot in her back, right in front of my eyes.
Dmitri turned his lens towards Elena, who was bleeding from a wound to the head.
И первых, кого я
The
увидела,
first people I saw were two men from our town. They were armed. They told me to run over to him. He helped me cross back to safety.
Still trapped inside, Sergei and his daughter were ordered to move to the cafeteria.
And I went through the mess. All those wounded. I couldn't help them. God forgive me.
Terrorists surrounded themselves with hostages, using them as human shields.
Then I got a piece of shrapnel in my back. I was in a lot of pain. Screamed. And lost control of my daughter. The bandits were shooting from behind the women and children were falling down, screaming. Don't shoot.
Spetsnaz troops started moving into the school.
My job was to give them cover.
The battle for Beslan School Number 1 went on for hour after hour after hour.
It was just so long. I remember myself praying that moment. And I remember all this noise and everything like around me, everywhere. And that was just so scary. That seems like it's a war or something like that. And it seemed like there were thousands of terrorists and they were everywhere.
Amid the chaos, Dmitri shot this series of pictures.
And you can see here, nobody's moving. Looks like everyone is dead. And there was a silhouette of a child.
The young girl pulled herself up and climbed back into the gym.
She should run away. She should just go. And instead she crawled back. And then there was a third explosion, and then I just put my lens down because I couldn't continue taking pictures. I thought, well, this is too much. You know, this is too much. I was sure that this is it for her. I was sure that she has perished. In a few minutes, roof collapsed.
There weren't enough ambulances to carry all the wounded. Children were rushed to hospitals by family car or in residents' arms. It took nearly 10 hours before the shooting stopped.
was over, there were still two bastards maneuvering here, and Beslan decided not to waste their people, and they just caught up with tanks, and from over there, the tank just took them out.
One by one, the wounded and the dead were carried out. Spetsnaz soldiers lost their lives in the fight. Just beyond the school, families reunited, sometimes in joy, but too often in despair. For Daria Fayeva and thousands of others, a desperate search began.
Room to room, corridor by corridor, floor by floor, from top to the bottom. A massacre. There was chaos, there was pain, there was despair. 100% total despair. People were calling each other, have you seen my daughter, have you seen my brother? Do you know what happened to my son?
When the battle ended, the survivors and the dead scattered across Beslan, to hospitals in neighboring towns, and some even to Moscow for intensive medical care.
People would usually start going morgues. There was one or two morgues. So they would start from there, and then they would definitely run through the hospitals, or just check anywhere. For some passages, even they were delivered Moscow, Rostov, other places, and there was again a bit of chaos. Not everyone knew which hospital to search.
Someone said they put Alice somewhere in the hospital, and we were looking for her, like asking doctors where it should be, and no one, like there was no anyone who knew.
And then Daria's cell phone rang.
Daria.
And when I heard her voice, oh God, I mean, that was just like she's calling us from heaven or something like that. I don't know, I mean, I can't express the feelings you have at this moment.
Alia had severe shrapnel wounds to her legs and back. She was evacuated to Moscow, where she has undergone 3 surgeries.
She said, inside I just wanted to see you, and I was praying to see you again.
Zelina went to the central hospital looking for Alana, but couldn't find her.
Then I broke down in tears. One of our relatives came up to me and said, "Don't cry. Why are you crying? She's alive." I entered her ward and I saw her lying on the bed. She gave me a smile.
Alana had burns on her legs and back. She escaped, aided by a man she didn't know.
Потом, когда все это закончилось, она мне говорила.
When it all ended, she said that a man, one of the terrorists, had saved her. He had told her to move because the fire was spreading.
Сейчас будет гореть. И я, говорит, побежала туда. И когда, говорит, я
He was soothing her and supporting her, saying, "It's okay. It will be over soon."
Alana and her mother are sure it was this man, Nurpashi Kulayev, the only terrorist known to have survived.
He was saying that he was going to die anyway, and that God will not forgive him for what he was doing there.
For the Zaporova family, who lost their camera to the terrorists, there was joy on the first day of school, a proud father filming his daughter. Then everything going so wrong.
My husband, Aslan, died the first day.
In fact, Oksana, his widow, believes his dead body may have been filmed with his own camera. Oksana's 2 children survived, although Linda was badly burned. And what virtually no one except her husband knew was that she was pregnant during the siege. Their son Alec was born 4 months later. Elena's son, Timur, seen here in Belyakov photos, managed to climb out the same shattered window as his mother.
When my friend told us to run to the other side, I was scared. But Timur was in such a strange state, as if he couldn't hear. He was to run first, and I was telling him, "Bend down, bend down." But he could not hear me. Maybe he had a concussion. I grabbed him, trying to make him bend down and run over to the other side.
Timur ran to safety, covered in blood from others in the school. His physical wounds have healed. Emotionally, he is still on the mend.
The boy has grown up, but life is also more difficult for him. He's nervous. He played only with toy guns, playing war for 1 whole month.
After we published these pictures, I started receiving emails from readers, and they want us to find out the truth, what happened to this particular girl. We went through morgues, hospitals, lists of people missing, killed. I made something like 100 prints. That picture where you can see her in a profile. We put the print on TV, on the local television station, and we gave it to local newspapers.
Then, after an exhaustive search, Belyakov was brought to a hospital room where he was introduced to 7-year-old Aida Sidakova.
I show her the picture, and I ask her, "Is it you?" She said, "Ну, конечно, это я." She said, "Of course it's me." So, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Why did you do it?" Потому что я искала мою маму. Because I was looking for my mama.
Aida's mother did survive.
Well, I had a state of tear. And I felt myself very, very happy. I took her arm, a little arm, and I kissed it. I was very, very happy.
At the end of the battle for school number 1, Sergei Urmanov was fighting for life. His own and his daughter's.
As I was carrying her, I fell several times. My daughter asked me, "Daddy, why are you falling all the time?" She was such a chatterbox. But as long as we were together, she didn't worry about anything. She trusted in me 1,000,000%. She knew that as long as I'm near, all would be fine.
But after an explosion, Sergei and his daughter were separated. She was shot and died. He also lost his sister, 3 nieces, and his wife. the remains of the school, family members and townspeople memorialize the suffering by leaving bottles of water, hoping somehow to quench the victims' thirst. The final toll was cruel. Of nearly 1,200 hostages, 331 died. 176 of them children. More than 500 others were wounded. 26 children are now orphans. The survivors will never forget nor forgive the terrorists.
Просто животные без разума.
They are just animals without reason or heart inside them. They are not human.
Главная роль Беслана, что нужно решать проблему Чеченской Республики. Пока мы не решим эту основную проблему.
The main lesson of Beslan is that the problem of the Chechen Republic must be solved. Until we solve this problem, we have no guarantee that there will be no more terrorism. We need to solve this problem as soon as possible, and solve it politically, because this problem cannot be solved by force.
Russian President Vladimir Putin flew down to the area the day after the siege ended. He visited a hospital, but not the school. It is said the visit was so short, the engines on his plane were kept running.
Мы избираем президента.
We elect the president, the deputies, the governors, all levels of power. We pay them to defend us. If people died, it means we have all failed.
Today in Beslan, there is anger towards the terrorists, but also toward the government. Was their government incapable, or worse, unwilling to save their children?
This experience has changed everything, especially for Beslan. This town is now associated with horror, with death. And it's very hard to live after all this. And it's going to get harder.
The people of Beslan have witnessed the trial of the surviving terrorists and seen government investigations. But they believe their president isn't with them and doesn't care to answer their questions. After being separated for months, Daria traveled to Moscow to see her little sister.
She says she's doing fine, but my mom said that she's having like headaches and she's still really weak. She grew up. She became a really different person than she used to be.
Alia rarely speaks about her friends. Instead, she writes to them.
Я никак не могу поверить, что вас больше нет. Я никак не могу осознать.
I can't believe you're not here anymore. I can't believe that the light of your life has faded. You were so precious to me, and now you are gone. And we can't bring you back.
Неужели вас больше нет?
How can it be true that you are really gone? I can't believe it.
Было так мало лет.
Because you were so young, you could live on, bringing joy and happiness to those closest to you. You really could.
И не могу я теперь спокойно уснуть.
And now we can't bring you back, and I cannot fall asleep. You're in front of me, with a smile on your face.
А на сердце теперь у меня нестерпимо.
And now I have this unbearable heartache and a wounded soul. And now I have this unbearable heartache and a wounded soul.